Good evening. I'm Kim Knox, President of the League of Women Voters of San Diego. Thank you for taking time to participate in our annual meeting. The first part of our agenda will be honoring volunteers, and then we'll get to the business portion of the meeting. The event recording will be available for viewing on our website tomorrow. Now, I'd like to introduce Voter Engagement Coordinator Sarah O'Leary and Voter Empowerment Director Jane Andrews.
Hello, everyone. This is Sarah O'Leary, and I would have been joined tonight by my co-coordinator, Greta Kost-Lent, but she's not feeling well. So I'm here representing both of us. And I have to apologize ahead of time. I've had a bad cold, and I may not sound the greatest, and I may get interrupted with a cough, but I'll do my best. I don't have to talk too long. I just want to, I was asked to say a few words about our awards that we're presenting tonight. And I want to say that we've had the pleasure of working with Marty and Christina as we planned with Gene Widener for the voter registration events in the schools in the South Bay. And they really, got us involved and got things kicked off, and it introduced us to Isaiah, the student who really was behind this effort. His goal was really to push for full engagement of 18-year-olds and get as many students as possible in the high schools registered to vote. Myself and Greta and many other volunteers went to the schools and participated in the voter registration events, and they were always well organized. Things were on time. We had our materials. They got other students involved, and it was really inspiring and exciting to work with them. They were literally sometimes dragging students up and getting them interested in getting registered to vote. And fortunately, Isaiah's coming back next year as a senior, and his goal is to continue this effort. So we expect to be back working with this fabulous team of Marty and Christina and Isaiah. We'll be starting again in August. So if you're interested in this effort, please look for the opportunities to sign up for it. It's a lot of fun, and it's really exciting to see these young people want to be registered to vote. So I won't take up any more time. I will say one thing, that we have some other events coming up to register voters before August. So if you're interested, take a look at what's posted. But for now, we just really want to thank Marty and Christina and Isaiah. Thank you for a great job.
Wow. I will jump in for a moment after Sarah. I'm Jane Andrews, the current Voter Empowerment Chair. Gene Widener was really the person who I think spearheaded this effort last fall, and along with Marty Emerald, who's also a member of the League. But this group had 25 different events at the Sweetwater High Schools, which is in the southern part of the city. And registered, I think, over 1,200 voters. So it was a wonderfully organized effort, thanks to Christina and Marty and Isaiah. And I don't know, are they present on okay, so we do get a chance. So, and I believe your awards will be, since we can't deliver them in person, but I believe they will be in your offices shortly. And I certainly, on behalf of the League, just want to say a very big thanks to you. Over to you, Kim. Oh.
I think that Isaiah and Christina are going to be joining as panelists, so they'll be able to say a couple words. I don't see Marty here, but I'll keep an eye on the participants list in case she joins.
And there's Christina and Isaiah. Also, show your faces, put your videos on, that would be great. There's Isaiah. Can you say a few words for us?
Yes. Hi guys. Good evening. Um, it was amazing. I didn't know. Um, I just didn't know the impact that I can make. I really just want to thank the league for everything you guys did to help out. I didn't know the League of Women Voters existed before this. And then Marty introduced me to the league, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna stay connected with the league, no matter where I go for college or whatever. And I'm encouraging my friends as well to join the league. I didn't know you guys existed. You guys are amazing. It was really nice how it was a network, how volunteers networked, and you guys showed up every week, week in and week out. So thank you guys so much. Yeah, we got around 1,300 voters registered. And I think a little bit over half of them will be registered, will be able to vote in the upcoming November presidential election. So thank you guys so much.
Great. Great. Christina, can you say a word?
I can. Can you see me? I'm having troubles with my camera, but but can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Sorry about that. No, it was a great initiative kicked off by Isaiah. And Marty Emerald just put it into his, said, let's get to work. And we organized, and we wanted to make sure we took it to everywhere within our district. And we wanted to make sure we gave everybody the opportunity. And it was just a wonderful event to see all the students out there. And yes, we did. Our count was a little over 1,300 students registered, pre-registered to vote. And we really, really look forward to you guys joining us again out in August for our last couple months as we push through before voter registration closing in 2 weeks before the general election. But we're excited, and we're so glad that you guys were involved with us. It really, really helped out to have you out there and to make those connections with students. It was awesome.
And could you remind us, are you employed by the schools, or what is your role?
I'm employed by the district. I am a program manager for alternative education and for adult education. So
Right.
I'm an administrator that works on different projects. So when Miss Emerald said that this is a project she wanted to take with Isaiah moving forward, I was assigned to help do in the background. I did all the organization, and I put everything together and contacted all the principals and made sure that our schedule and everything was set so that we could just get right in there and get people in there to help.
It was a great teamwork of the league and the schools, which is thrilling. Really thrilling. Well, unfortunately, with the webinar format, you don't get to see all the faces of people who would be applauding right now. But we've got over 40 members attending, and I think we're all just thrilled that you've done this and that we can work together going forward. Yeah.
Thank you.
All
Thank-
right. Well, congratulations, Isaiah and Christina. And we also appreciate Marty Emerald. She's been a league member since 1996, and she's now a school board member. So she's the connection here. So really fabulous work that was done out there. Thanks very much. Next is the president's report. And more congratulations are in order for the recipient of the League's Ann Clark Scholarship. $2,000 will be granted to Ivana Ruiz of Chula Vista, a student at Olympian High School who will attend Southwestern College. Her goal is to dispel common misconceptions and confusion about participating in elections. She will host 3 workshops for families that include migrants and eligible voters this fall that will provide key information on how to vote and voting rights. Congratulations to Ivana. And we'd also like to recognize 2 50-year League members, Anita Wright and Julie Adams. They have lifetime member status now, which means they are no longer asked to pay dues. Anita and Julie, if you're out there, your dedication and continued contribution through the years are what make the League an effective and powerful organization. It's the generous gift of time and other personal resources that you've given that create meaningful change in communities. It's great to have so many things to celebrate. Now I'd like to talk about what the San Diego League has accomplished in the last year. Last summer, Linda Frew led our strategic planning groups, which conducted extensive research, polling our peers and stakeholders, and reviewing our operations and assessing our environment. In the fall, the board adopted our strategic plan to expand the reputation of the League of Women Voters of San Diego as the leading nonpartisan source of reliable, fact-based voter information in the region. Our goals include prioritizing voter education and empowerment activities, engaging diverse communities across the region, increasing focus on issues that offer political common ground, developing effective external communication and outreach, creating an enjoyable and rewarding volunteering experience focused on voter empowerment and operations, and enhancing enjoyment and satisfaction of leadership. The feedback we received from the strategic planning team prompted us to improve our website, making it easier to find election information and how to volunteer, and it helped the board understand what our stakeholders and members want to see us doing. We strive to give voters the tools they need to be informed participants in their democracy. Since the plan was adopted, we've begun having Spanish interpreters at events, Spanish translation of voter information documents, and our YouTube videos can be watched with captions in Spanish as well as many other languages. We have arranged to produce a Spanish version of our ballot measure pro and con video this fall. Before the March primary election, Jane Andrews stepped up to coordinate 6 candidate forums. Jane ultimately became director of voter empowerment, and we have resumed in-person training for new election volunteers. Those were held in January and May, and we'll do another one on August 26th. Our Speakers Bureau held 11 talks on topics including primary election ballot measures, what does the league do, electoral college reform, democracy dollars, new threats to democracy, and other topics. Our voter registration team conducted tabling events for people serving a jail sentence and people on parole, and they registered about 30 voters there. As we heard earlier, the team at Sweetwater Union High School District registered and pre-registered over 1,300 students. And coming up on June 15 and June 22, we'll be tabling at Juneteenth events at Waterfront Park and at Choice Lake Park. Our online voter guide, Voter's Edge, was discontinued on short notice this year, and we began using Vote 411 from the League of Women Voters Education Fund. Julianne C. masterfully led her team through the transition. This year, our advocacy team received and considered 30 issues. Since the president is the voice of the league, it was my responsibility to submit comments, appear before legislative bodies, meet with coalition partners, and lobby legislators. I'd like to share a few of our most meaningful and impactful items, starting with our current issues for emphasis. Democracy Dollars is our coalition with Common Cause California, Engage San Diego, San Diegans for Justice, Represent Us, and others. And it aims to bring publicly financed campaigns to City of San Diego elections. It's on track to be a ballot measure in 2026. We conducted a poll of 600 San Diego residents and commissioned a campaign funding report, which includes research into donations received by local candidates in recent elections. Our league will receive a $3,000 grant for participating in the coalition and advocating for democracy dollars, and for our support and leadership on the policy, organizing, and political subcommittees. On the topic of affordable housing and homelessness, for County League Day, we had local experts to discuss permanent housing solutions, and we submitted proposed changes for the City of San Diego's Housing Action Package 2.0. We supported several county agenda items regarding homelessness, as well as comments on the Homelessness Solutions and Prevention Action Plan. On affordable childcare, we hosted a lunch with speakers from the City of San Diego Office of Child and Youth Success, the County of San Diego, Parent Voices, and Educational Enrichment Systems. Other work at the state level. Occasionally, the State League will ask us to participate in lobbying for state bills. In conjunction with partners in the Anti-Death Penalty Coalition, including Alliance San Diego and Pillars of the Community, some of whom have family members serving life sentences in prison, we lobbied for SB 94, which would provide a path for those who have served at least 25 years of their life without parole sentence to request judicial review and possible resentencing. That bill, unfortunately, did not make it to the floor this year. We worked with the State League to write a letter of support for AB 2783, which is David Alvarez's bill aimed at enhancing transparency, accountability, and oversight within the San Diego Unified Court District. In the primary election, we endorsed the City of San Diego's Measure A to authorize the city auditor and the city audit committee to secure independent legal counsel when necessary. Other coalition work included Rewild Mission Bay, the coalition with San Diego Audubon to dedicated to restoring valuable wetlands in the northeast corner of San Diego's iconic Mission Bay, and the San Diego Building Electrification Coalition. We signed on to several letters with that group, including one that asked Governor Newsom to protect public health and cut planet warming emissions by directing state agencies to adopt a zero-emission building standard. Regarding the Tijuana River Valley sewage crisis, we presented a webinar featuring the U.S. Commissioner of the International Boundary and Water Commission, the mayor of Imperial Beach, and a journalist who has extensively covered this environmental issue. We worked with the National League on sending a letter to our Congress members, senators, and the EPA administrator on the need for a comprehensive plan. And we convinced the State League to sign a petition asking Governor Newsom to declare an emergency regarding the crisis. In addition, our committee chairs held discussions on many other topics of interest in the areas of public policy, housing and homelessness, education, criminal justice, sustainability and environmental action, environmental justice, water, and immigration and deportation. Several of our committee chairs are past board members, including Jeannie Brown, Beryl Flom, and Penny Adler. Miles Pomeroy will soon join that club as he retires from the board tonight and will continue as a league leader, co-chairing the Housing and Homelessness Committee. Thank you, Miles, for 12 great years of service. Our fundraising drive, led by Linda Frew, with help from Chris Hageman, brought in nearly $4,000. We are deeply grateful to our financial supporters. I look forward to continuing work with the board, our members, and our community for one more year before I complete my term in 2025. As always, we cannot empower voters in our community without the help of a great many of our members and volunteers. To everyone who has volunteered at a candidate forum or a voter registration drive, everyone who volunteers to speak about league work at community events, or who has assisted in running our lunch events, or called candidates and entered information on the Vote 411 website, thank you. We cannot do the work of the league without you. I will now call the meeting to order at 6:21 p.m. The remainder of the meeting will be for members eligible to vote, and others are asked to disconnect now. And you can watch the recording tomorrow if you'd like on our website, lwvsandiego.org. Sheila Toll will now present the credentials report.
Thank you, Kim. We have 43 members in attendance, and that meets the standard for this event.
Great, thanks very much. Now I'd like to introduce Vice President Lori Thiel.
Hello, everybody. Thanks, Kim. It's good to be here tonight. I just wanted to take a minute and just to review a little bit of the details surrounding how we're going to conduct this meeting tonight and make sure we are all on the same page regarding technology use today. So here are just a couple of points of order. Attendees, audio and video will be disabled. When a speaker comes up on the agenda, their audio and video will be temporarily enabled to allow the conversation to start. Chat, we're not going to be using that tonight because it's a bit of a distraction sometimes when the chats go through. But instead, we're going to be using the Q&A, and I'll get to that in a second. So if you'd like to be recognized for debate, you'll see in the bottom of your Zoom screen, an opportunity to raise your hand. I think it's under more, but it'll say raise hand. It's the function that you can just click. And when you do that, you will be recognized and unmuted. And remember, your remarks have to be about the question on the floor so that you limit your comments or questions to what's on the floor, the point of the discussion. And then after you finish speaking, or if you change your mind about speaking, click lower hand so that we just make sure that we keep everybody apprised on who is speaking when and how long. And our general rule of thumb is that we try to get through everybody who wants to speak before we allow someone to speak twice. So just be patient if you're not being called on again, even though you have your hand up, because we try to make sure we give others a chance to speak first. If you'd like to make a motion or a resolution, please type it into the Q&A. You'll see that as well on your Zoom bar at the bottom. And the purpose of that is to make sure that we record your resolution or motion accurately. So Donna, our secretary, will be collecting that from the Q&A that you type it into. So the final item is we're going to be doing polls as we always do with the Zoom poll function. And as Kim mentioned, only current members are allowed to vote. So again, if you're logged in, we invite you to log out and watch this on YouTube tomorrow on our video channel. And if you're dialed in on a telephone, if you'd like to speak, just press *9 and we will get around to recognizing you. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. It looks like there's nobody connected by phone this time, which makes it easier. Our secretary, Donna Bartlett-May, will be taking today's minutes. 3 members have agreed to review and approve the meeting minutes. That's Dana Freehoff, Sheila Toll, and Lori Thiel. Thanks to the 3 of you. Now back to you, Lori. Lori, you're muted.
Thanks. Sorry about that. I move to adopt the proposed order of business on page 1 and the rules of order on page 2 of your annual meeting packets.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
All right.
Donna.
Thank you, Donna. So the order of business is shown on the screen. And they're also in the annual meeting packet. And then if you could go to the next slide is the proposed rules of order.
Some of these I just went through a moment ago, so they should seem very familiar. And as I said, they've been in your meeting packet as well, which was sent out, as you know, around 30 days ago. So
I just put a link to that packet in the chat as well, in case
Thanks.
anyone's having trouble finding it.
And just a reminder, any motion that comes from the board or committee does not require a second. Just a little reminder.
Okay, I don't see any hands up at the moment. Okay, Carol has raised her hand. I'll invite her to talk. Carol, did you want to say something about this item? I'm not hearing anything. Carol, are you there?
Yes,
Go ahead. Hear you now.
I have nothing to say.
Okay, maybe you didn't mean to raise your hands.
Oh, I see. I thought I was voting.
Okay, the voting is going to pop up. Since there are no other hands up, I'll go ahead and launch the poll. So it should be a little window that pops up in front of your Zoom screen. It says agenda and rules, and it says, do you approve adoption of the proposed order of business? And do you approve adoption of the proposed rules of order? So we'll give people a few more seconds to answer those questions. Okay, we'll end that poll, and those two motions pass unanimously. I'd like to introduce well, you already saw our parliament and heard from our parliamentarian, that's Vice President Lori Thiel. Sheila Toll is operating the timer today, and Donna Bartlett is our secretary. Donna, do you want to say anything about last year's minutes?
Just that you had a link to see what went on last year, and I'd like to thank the committee from last year and Link, Martha Cox, and Miles Pomeroy for serving for those minutes.
Okay. Thank you. All right, our next item is going to be Donna as well, because Jean Widener is not here.
Okay, the nominating committee for this year has submitted this slate. You can see that Miles is not on this slate because of his retirement, but we're still going to see him. So on behalf of the nominating committee, I move to elect the officers and directors. We don't need a second because this is coming from the committee. And we don't need a second, so that's not a problem. So are we ready for the vote?
I believe we go to the next slide. And are there any nominations from the floor?
Yes, sorry.
Raise your hand if you want to nominate someone. Does not appear there's any response, so I'm going to get the poll ready. We can find it, directors and officers. Okay, do you approve the election of Donna Bartlett May as secretary and directors Dana Freehoff, Ashley Rodriguez, Alejandra Sotelo Solis, Kim Ussery, and Wendy Young for 2-year terms, and Marka Gay as treasurer for 1-year term? Okay. That motion passes unanimously. Donna, it's you again.
Okay. Next part here. The following members are nominated for a 1-year term on the nominating committee beginning July 1, 2024. Rachel McDonald Hernandez, Jeannie Brown, and Denise Vetter. Then the board will be selecting 2 members to serve on the committee in July.
The nominating committee nominates Rachel McDonald Hernandez as chair and Jeannie Brown and Denise Vetter for next year's nominating committee. Nominations are now open from the floor. Are there any further nominations? Okay, we will now vote. That motion passes unanimously as well. Next is our treasurer's report, and I'd like to introduce Treasurer Jill Elsner.
Okay, can everyone see the balance sheet? Yes? Hello?
Could you zoom in a little bit on it?
Okay,
That's a little better.
want me to make it bigger than that?
Yeah, more would be great.
Okay. Is that okay?
I didn't see any difference. That's fine.
Okay, all right.
It's fine.
Okay, so I'm presenting on the financials and the proposed financials. So you'll see the balance sheet in front of you. It's as of April 30th, 2024. Now, our year end does not end until June 30th, but obviously we can't present those financials, but they will be sent to you a few months after year end. So these were the latest financials before sending the board packet to you. So you can see that our total assets, our cash is $388,399. So we have a very strong financial health. And it's actually kind of interesting to me because I was a treasurer back in a long time ago, 2006, 2007. And guess what their assets were then? They were about 100,000. So since that time, we have increased our cash flow. And I was thinking how that happened. And of course, many people have made generous donations over the years, ranging from $10, $100, $1,000, $10,000. But as most of you know, we received two bequests, one in 2022 and one in 2023, each for $100,000, which really contributed to this great financial health. So we are very grateful to those people who felt strongly to voter empowerment and defending democracy. And it gives us the latitude to take the league to the next level. Now, rest assured that all the money is in FDIC accounts of the banking. We also have a lot of money in the Fidelity money market and as well as conservative CDs and T-bills. So that is our balance, and we have no payables. Moving down to our income statement here, the 23-24, again, our fiscal year is from July 1st to June 24th, but I'm just showing this as of April 30th. So these are our actual numbers from July till April 30th. And on the left is the budgeted amount. So through April, our total income was $55,000 and our total expenses are $69,000. So as of April 30th, we had a loss of $14,000. But actually, we budgeted for a loss of $88,000. So our loss was a lot lower. Looking at our income, we did have a lot of interest and dividends, which we didn't budget for. And that's partly due to one of the bequests only coming in 2023. And we also moved the money to better accounts. So we had a significant amount of interest and dividends. But unfortunately, even though we had lots of some webinars and activities, our membership and our donations were much lower for this past fiscal year. But we anticipate that to increase significantly in our proposed budget, primarily because it's an election year. Now, also, though, we had, even though our income was lower, also our expenses were quite lower. And you can see, again, the left side's the budget, and this is the actual. And you'll notice that most of our expenses are much lower than budgeted. We had 2 lunches, so it was a lot lower. We have the meetings for the convention. We don't have quite as many people going right now. We have, 3 or maybe 4. We do make contributions to other organizations as well. So if you ever think we should make a contribution, let us know. That would be like those that are aligned with us, Alliance San Diego. Our insurance is a little bit higher. Our fees will actually be higher. What Kim mentioned earlier is this year we also have interpreters that also translate into Spanish. So that's something that wasn't budgeted, but was a welcome addition. And the most important thing probably is to have the staffing. As I mentioned in the balance sheet, since we have such strong financial health, in 2022-23, the board decided to take that plunge and make an investment in an executive assistant to help the president and everyone else. Now, we did budget $62,000, but we didn't have the executive assistant for the whole year. only partial. And again, this is only till April. So it is a risk of that money, but guess what? If we want to take the league to the next level, then we think it's a worthwhile investment, but we have to monitor very carefully. Okay, just going down, we don't have that, we hadn't paid the PMPs at April, that's about 10 grand. And then going down, everything else, so we come down to expense of 69,000. Again, we have a net loss of 14,000, which is much lower than budgeted. But again, the final loss probably will be closer to about 40,000, just because we have to pay about 10 grand in PMPs, and we have a couple months of the staffing, so probably around 40,000. Now, as far as the budget, again, that will start in July. We do expect much higher income just because it is an election year. As you know, there's a lot of controversy. And so we do expect our donations to increase once again. We should have higher interest and dividends. Our membership dues were leaving as the same as this year. And part of the reason, though, even though we expect more members, is that when you pay your membership starting next February, it's going to be paid to national instead to us. Even though you will be a member of San Diego, all the money is going to go through national, and chances are it's going to cause some confusion. They decided to make this change because they think it'll be less administrative headache for us. We'll see what happens on that.
And
But
PMPs, by the way, will you tell people what PMP stands for?
so what happens is that once you pay your membership, most of that fee per member participant goes to federal and California as a fee to them. And you can see those down here, the PMPs. So this will disappear after next February, but they told us to budget the full amount. So this will be a major change, but again, it's supposed to alleviate the administration of the local leagues. That's the hope anyhow. And then when your membership goes to national, 2/3 should come back to us. Okay, so then going down to our expenses, we do expect to have still your lunches like before, and everything else. This is more people will probably go to the convention next year since it will be in California. Going down here, you can see we've budgeted for the staff for the whole year of a part-time person. And again, that will be monitored to make sure that we're making the right investment. And then so you can see that we've budgeted for a loss of 55,000, which coincidentally is about the cost of the staffing person. So when you call the league, there will be someone answering. She can answer any of your questions. She helps coordinate meetings and everything that goes along with that. We also expect a higher copying and printing costs, for all the voter related activities. And also the Sustainability Environmental Committee will be issuing a heat-related toolkit, heat and human health toolkit, as our society is getting warmer. So that is my report. If you want to go to the next slide. I need to turn. Okay. So on behalf of the League of Women's Voters of San Diego, I move to adopt the 24-25 budget as printed in the annual meeting packet.
Thanks, Jill. And since that motion comes from the board, it doesn't need a second. The budget is shown here on the screen. You've probably already seen it in that annual meeting packet that was mailed out last month. I know the numbers are kind of small, so on the next slide, we'll see the income only, and they're bigger. And the expenses only. If you would like to be recognized to speak about the budget, please click on raise hand. Mark Hickey.
A question with regard to the staff person. I noticed that it was a lower amount for the new fiscal year. Is that because the hours are being reduced?
It's actually it's part actually the salary level as well. I don't actually, Kim did most of the negotiation on that. Kim, do you know why?
Last year, we were making a wild guess how much it would cost to have a staff member. And now that we know exactly how much all the taxes and all the add-on things were, it didn't come out to be quite as much as we feared. But
Okay.
she will be in the same number of hours that we've had.
Okay. And then my other question has to do with the decrease in membership and income this year. Beside it being an election year, do you feel like there's anything else that might impact those two line items?
The membership and the donations? Oh, sorry.
Right, because they were significantly lower this current fiscal year than what had been budgeted. So I see that you left the membership at the level that it was this year, but you went ahead and increased the donations to higher than what was received this year.
I think I think because it's an election year, we anticipate, usually in election years, we anticipate higher donations. Because when we were preparing the budget, that wasn't, actually, I brought that issue up myself. So, but Kim and the rest of the budget committee felt that because it's election year, we should actually receive higher donations.
But the feeling is that the membership will stay the same, that there won't be any change with membership. What was the thinking about that?
I think because part of the problem is this change to national, so there probably will be a little bit of confusion. So
we actually used a complicated formula in the spreadsheet to determine that, because the change to national is going to be happening on January 31st. So starting on February 1st, anyone who has a renewal from February to June, we won't be collecting the whole $65 from them. So we'll be getting, I forget what the fraction is. So we adjusted the membership numbers based on that.
Because the gross is showing in that line, and then in the expense line is showing what goes out to national. Got it. So got it. Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
I think there is some confusion, a little bit of confusion on that, but I think, it is a proposed budget and we still want to be conservative, because probably that 10,000 probably would be lower, but the national asked us, they suggested we use that anyhow.
Yeah, it's always good to be conservative. I agree. All right, thank you.
Sure. Next is Ruth Sandman.
Thank you, Kim. Just curious, how many hours a week does the executive assistant work-ish?
About 23 hours a week.
Thanks.
A little more than half time. Did you have any other questions?
No, thank you. No,
Okay.
I'm just calculating the hourly.
Gotcha.
But Ruth, that number, and I should clarify that number, that 54,000 is a salary, it's to pay employers' payroll tax, the unemployment, the 401k contribution, sick time, everything. So it's a combination. It actually includes the fee that we pay to the payroll provider who runs the payroll as well.
Okay, it's a whole package for about 23 hours a week.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
It also includes a work from home stipend of $100 a month, which helps to cover the cell phone bill and the Wi-Fi and everything associated with having a home office.
Okay.
Thanks for that question. And Beryl is, I'm going to go to Beryl because she has not spoken yet. And then if Marcus, your hand is still up, so we'll go to you next if you still have another question. Beryl, oh, your hand went down. Oh, okay, all hands went down. There, Beryl's back. Okay. Here she comes.
Very often when we renew membership, we get donations connected with that. And I don't think we're going to get that income once the membership dues are collected by national. Have you thought about that?
what you're saying is correct, and that is disappointing since actually when I renew my membership, I usually do have a donation. So we will have to somehow figure out how to, well, actually in our fundraising for next year, Linda is also going to send a fundraising letter to that, but we probably will need to communicate with our members about that topic and workarounds on that. Kim, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, just what I mean, you all know we did a fundraising letter campaign this year, so we're ramping up to do an even bigger one next year. And we'll make sure that our members know that additional money that they add on to with their renewal fee is split amongst the national, state, and local. But if they want it to go 100% to us, they need to send the payment directly through our website or by mail.
So we'll probably have to do a separate letter or email maybe a few times just to communicate that, because that is a major change.
But you've considered it in the budget, right?
Yes, but we
Definitely.
still, yeah.
Yeah, it was a big, these changes, there've been all kinds of webinars and documents sent out and lots of time spent on understanding how it's going to work, and it's all worked into our budget. Okay, I don't see any other hand. Oh, Sue Braun.
Okay, just following up on Beryl's comment, you mentioned that 2/3 of the money will come back to local. If you put that in the original request for dues, that should help.
The National League, I mean, this all started several years ago when they wanted to make this change. And so they did all the calculations and they are suggesting that 75% of the leagues will be better off under this new arrangement versus before. And for the 25% that will be worse off, that the National League will reimburse them for that loss for the first 2 years.
Well, okay, that even makes it more confusing. You know what? It's just when you send out a request for dues, you have to be very specific about what's going to eventually come to local, what's going to the state, and what's going to national percentages.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Or
Yeah.
dollars or percentages, either way.
Right.
And the renewal notices will not be coming from us anymore, so we won't have any control over what they say. They'll be coming from the
great.
National League.
Oh, no.
But we will send separate communications that tell people how to donate to us.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sure there will be some confusion. Again, it won't start until 2025.
All right.
And the split, I don't remember exactly what the split is, but it's not that 2/3 goes to us. I don't know if you meant to say that, Jill.
I think that's what they said. They would only take 1/3. But you know, that wasn't.
But the state leagues are getting more.
1/3.
The state leagues are getting a lot more now because a lot of the election related work is being done at state levels now more than at the national level.
Well, we members just need to know who's getting what is all. Otherwise, we're not going to want to contribute or join because we're going to not have trust.
Oh, but actually, once they switched over to national, when they record it in their database, it automatically will flow to us, so we'll know right away. Theoretically, that's how it's supposed to work. But based on
current I just found the information, if you don't mind. Under the current PMP system, local leagues get 12% of the money, but under the new system, we'll get 20% of the renewals and new membership. So it's almost doubling, between 12 to 20%.
But very little comes back to local.
But you're not paying the PMPs. If you remember, if you saw that it was the PMP on the ground.
Okay.
But obviously, based on all your questions, then we'll have to make sure that we have effective communication to make sure everyone understands.
Okay, thanks.
Miles is next.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I'm curious as to, with the new arrangement, what will be the split between national, the state, and the local league percentage-wise?
It'll be 33% to national, 47% to state, and 20% to local.
Okay.
So it's pretty
So,
much swapping what it had been before. National was getting 51% and state was 37. Now it's kind of switched.
so the local league, the dues are 69. So the local league would be getting about $14. Is that right?
65 is our current dues rate.
I'm sorry.
Times 20% would be
65,
$13.
13, and the state league gets 447, you said.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome. Jeannie Brown is next.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Just for people who haven't been following along on this, this was voted on at convention, and most leagues are much smaller than we are, and they have a really hard time getting people like Jill and other voter, people involved in doing all this bookwork. And so that's why they decided to, the smaller leagues really needed this help. And that's I think one of the main reasons they did this. So we might not have needed it, but most leagues did.
And it will end up saving us a lot of work with membership renewals and that kind of stuff. So we don't want to
Yeah.
overlook that.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, Peg Engel's hand has gone up. And Jeannie, your hand's still up. So we'll come back to you.
Yeah, I'm sorry about this question because I'm sure you must have mentioned it, but I missed it. What is the special event that's supposed to net $8,000?
Okay. Okay, the fundraising director is gonna have she's gonna do fundraising letter similar to the one she sent out of March this year, but she's also gonna have some type of gala event. I don't think she has the exact details yet. Kim, do you have any more information on that?
Nope.
Oh, okay. So but that's fine. It's a fundraising event. It's not an elections related event. Thank you.
All right, it seems that we have reached the end of the questions with no other hands raised. So to vote, please wait for the poll to appear on your screen. Do you approve adoption of the proposed budget? By the way, I would like to thank the chair of our budget committee, Julianne C. All right, seems like almost everyone's gotten their vote in now. All right. And the motion is adopted. I think we should be on slide 33. That's you, Lori.
Okay, I'm going to present the program information, and I'd like to move on behalf of the board to adopt defending democracy as an issue for emphasis for our 24-25 year.
Thank you. And that motion comes from the board, so it does not need a second. Next slide, please. If you would like to discuss this, please raise your hand.
I can, I'll share a little bit of background. As you know, every year prior to the annual meeting, we host the program planning meeting where we select issues for emphasis, decide if we want to conduct a study, review positions, etc. And as always, we did that again this year. And we held that meeting on April 16th, and we provided a video on our website after the meeting. So just to update, a lot of you were probably there. No studies were suggested and members proposed, and we all discussed issues for emphasis. So the purpose of that is to make these discussions and provide opportunities and information for the board to discuss and vote on in terms of what we recommend to you, our members, at the annual meeting. So that's obviously why we host the program planning meeting ahead of this meeting. And so that information from that program planning meeting was brought to the board. All of us were there as well. So we are very knowledgeable about the discussions surrounding each of the issues. And after discussion among the board level, we all agreed and decided to recommend to you to vote tonight on our recommended issue for emphasis, defending democracy. And just a brief background on that. One of the reasons we decided to go for this one and support it fully is because, as we've already talked about in this meeting, this is an election year, and it's very important that our organization in particular be ready and prepared to put a lot of resources behind the information and community outreach that we're going to need to help support the community in this year. And as you probably can see by looking at this, defending democracy is a state and national emphasis as well. If it looks familiar, it's because you've seen it for several years now, because the National League has promoted it and we have supported it in all the years past. So we're really aligning ourselves very closely in this year with the work that national and state are doing. So if you have any questions, feel free.
Okay, so right now the topic is the issue for emphasis that was suggested by the board, defending democracy. If you want to talk about this particular issue, then raise your hand now. If you want to talk about any other issues that were not recommended by the board, that'll be on the next slide. Okay, I see 3 hands up, so I'm going to go to Sue Braun.
Okay, thank you. I strongly support this, but I think it's going to be difficult to discuss to keep it politically neutral. I don't know how you're doing it, but I think it's a hard topic to discuss and work on without the conversation descending into political comments. So somehow you've obviously figured out how to do it.
Yeah, it's a tough line to walk, but yes, it's true. Thank you.
That's
Good
it.
point. Thank you. Ruth Sandben.
Thanks, Kim. Lori, I just wondered if you could give us a description of what this program looks like, in action. And also, does this defending democracy include the one person, one vote program that the National League's been sending information out about?
So everything that we do as a local league has to be vetted, or we have to follow along with the state and national. We cannot depart from them. So anything you see and are getting from national, we will necessarily support it, because that's just the way this organization works. But this particular idea in it, so in addition to what national has been sending out and the whole idea behind defending democracy and the bullets that we've always discussed, in fact, for this one in particular, Jane brought forward during our program planning meeting the recommendation that we maybe do a more local level defending democracy. And she's right here and she can speak to this, the details to this a little bit better than I can. So I'd yield the floor to Jane and just let you, Jane, fill everybody in on some of the ideas you had and the content of this defending democracy idea.
Thank you. I had had my hand raised because I did want to say a little more about this. So my original thinking about this was that the topic that concerned me the most and that I think about every day is threats to democracy, whether it's an independent judiciary, whether it's voter rights. You know, there's, you know, for some people, there's an argument that the Electoral College, you know, is a problem for democracy. There are a lot of subtype topics. And I was thinking that the idea I had really was to have a bit of a study group. Since the book group has been on hold, that using that slot in our league life to have conversations, not to make it a formal league study, but you know, possibly to do some reading. And I asked Dana Freehoff if she might like to work with me on this, and she liked that idea. So that was kind of a kernel of one thing that we might do on this. I think there are some real concerns about, you know, and there are some partisan issues behind it. There's no question, you know, that if the election comes out a certain way, that there will be some changes. And I'd like to have a place to be thinking about that and brainstorming about it. I think it's been very good that the league is really focused on the election this fall. There are umpteen ballot questions. So I was thinking of it to begin possibly, you know, after the election. But the original topic I had presented was threats to democracy, but the board felt that this was a safer framework of defending democracy.
And thank you, Jane. And to that point, just quickly, just to follow up on the question that was asked earlier about falling in line behind the National League. So making democracy work, just to refresh everybody's memory, it has several points to it, and it's been in place since 2016. And so the points behind that particular initiative includes voting rights, improving elections, campaign finance and money in politics, redistricting, and again, direct election of the president by popular vote. So that, just to put all that out there, these are the issues that the National League promotes.
I think what Ruth had asked is if this is related to the emails they've been sending in the last week or two about that say one person, one vote, and those are related to Electoral College reform.
Right.
So that does not relate to what we're talking about right now.
Okay, thanks.
But that, am I still able to talk? It's Jane.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that topic of Electoral College reform could be part of this study effort too.
Sure, but we were not coordinating with that campaign or anything. We didn't know anything that was coming out.
Yeah,
this month. Okay, Wendy has her hand up.
Basically, I'm going to second what Jane said in that we definitely talked about the volatility of our times in the board meeting. And part of the goal is to use events to just help show people in a nonpartisan way, inform people in a nonpartisan way what democracy looks like and how to maintain it.
Well said. Thank you. Jane, it looks like maybe you wanted to say one more thing.
I've said enough for the moment. Thank you.
Okay. All right, not seeing any other hands raised. We will, oh wait, Penny's hand went up for a second. Now it's gone. Jane's hand is up again. Okay. Wendy's hand is up again. No. Okay, here comes the poll. Launch. Do you approve defending democracy as an issue for emphasis? Couple more seconds here. All right, that motion is adopted and was unanimous. Are there any motions from the floor for additional issues for consideration? Please raise your hand.
Can I just address this and then we can have this discussion?
Sure.
So there were a couple of other issues that were brought before the board as part of this entire discussion. And one of them included access to quality childcare, and another was about immigration. So the conversations during those, the program planning, and then of course the board discussion was very focused on these in particular. And these are two issues that this league has actually emphasized in the past. Access to quality childcare, of course, was one of our issues for emphasis last year. And while this organization endorses quality and affordable childcare and will give this issue and its constituents opportunities to explore, discuss, and publicize this topic, the board believed that it was not central to this organization's core mission this year and voted not to recommend it to the members of the annual meeting. We actually did have a vote last year, and we did agree to use this as an issue for emphasis. But there were no opportunities last year to do any kind of specific advocacy on this particular issue. So what we ended up doing was, and what we would have done as well again, is to just promote this again among our members and community members. So what we did last year was host a luncheon around this issue. And we also obviously have members interested in this who are gonna, promote it and educate themselves and inform themselves about it as well. So those were some of the conversations around that one. We had a very similar discussion about immigration. We obviously support immigration policies and reforms, and will give that issue and its constituents opportunities to explore, discuss, and publicize this topic. But the board recognizes that direction on this particular issue comes from the National League. And so because we have to align ourselves with them so closely, and because immigration is a national issue, we will continue to support the work that our members do on this, just like we always have, and give them opportunities to host events and support those events as well. But we didn't believe that this was a good year to make that an issue for emphasis. So I just wanted to.
So those are the two items that are eligible to possibly be considered today. Our bylaws don't allow us to consider any other items because the deadline for submission was 60 days before the annual meeting. So I'm going to go now to Ruth, who's had, actually to Sue Braun.
Okay, in terms of access to affordable childcare, to me, it's a hugely important issue. It's been in.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Are you making a what the options are right now are to make a motion for consideration for either immigration or affordable childcare, and then we would need to vote on that.
Okay.
And then it would need to get a 2/3 or 3/5 vote.
I'll make a motion for, I mean, it's just an additional issue, correct? Not getting rid of the one about preserving democracy. That's still our first one.
It would be an additional issue. We would have to divide our capacity amongst defending democracy and something else.
Okay, well, accessible childcare has been in the news a great deal this year. And with the funding dropping, the pandemic funding dropping to keep childcare places open, it's going to be worse. I feel we should encourage state and national to look at this issue or to weigh in on this issue or to use their resources to help.
Okay, well, that would be actually a separate issue. And then there are different deadlines, like the National Convention is being held in about 2 weeks from now. So the deadline has passed for national, and
Okay.
then the state will be
Okay.
held next year, usually in the late spring.
Okay.
So that's something that we could talk about later.
Yeah, I was just suggesting that the local group encourage state and national to, keep up with this issue.
Okay.
Okay, well, I made my motion, so it's up to everybody.
Okay, so to be clear, you made the motion to for consideration for access to quality childcare. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay, is there a second? Miles, you had your hand raised, so I unmuted
Yes.
you.
I'll second.
Thank you. We will now take, wait,
Consideration so we have to vote on
yeah, we
consideration for
need
discussion.
a majority vote for consideration right now.
So the purpose of this poll.
Wait, yeah, so we're not doing any debate right now, right?
Correct. The purpose of this poll is to simply determine whether or not there is enough interest in the members here tonight to have a conversation about adding this particular issue for emphasis to the 24-25 year calendar.
So you're voting on whether or not we should talk about adding access to childcare or not talk about it and move on to our other topics.
You can vote yes or no. So if you think that this conversation should not, we don't need to have this conversation, then you would vote no on this poll. So this poll is about discussing this.
Okay, here it comes. Do you approve access to quality childcare for consideration as an issue for emphasis? Okay, we're going to give about 5 more seconds for votes to come in. Okay. Okay, and the motion fails. So we do then move, unless there are any other motions for other additional items to be considered. Jeannie Brown.
I just wanted to know what was the vote for that. Could we see that?
So due to technical constraints, some of the people in this webinar do not have the ability to vote, so they have sent me their votes via chat. But there were 4 more no's than yeses.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, not seeing any other motions there. We'll move forward. Wait. No, okay. Next slide, please.
Okay, so as you all know, part of program planning also includes a review of our positions. We do a really good job in this league of looking through them and parsing them every year, making sure they're up to date. And so this year, I would like to make the motion on behalf of the board of directors to retain all the local positions.
Thank you, Lori. And that does not need a second. Next slide, please. Please raise your hand if you'd like to discuss retaining our positions. Not seeing any discussion, I will launch the poll. Do you approve retaining all local positions? Couple more seconds here. Okay, and the motion is adopted. The next item is from Donna.
I can't start my video, Kim.
Let me fix that.
Thank you. There I am. All right, on behalf of the League Board, I move to amend the bylaws as printed on pages 11 through 13 of the annual meeting packet.
Thank you, Donna, and thank you for your work on the bylaws committee. Is there any discussion about those items? Not seeing any, I will launch the poll. So it's asking for which bylaw amendments do you vote yes? So you'll need to click the ones you want to vote yes on. And then the second question is for which ones do you vote no? We'll give a little extra time for this one. Okay, looks like not everyone has participated in this one. Hopefully everyone's able to see it and scroll down if you need to find the submit button. Okay, ending that poll, and those that motion is adopted. Lori just alerted me that there is a question in the Q&A. Penny, I've seen your hand go up and down a number of times, but it sounds like, I mean, it's not up now. We are on the item to make a resolution or directive. So I will call on you now. Are you there, Penny?
Yeah, I'm very frustrated. I've had my hand up the whole time. I don't understand. It says raised hand. I've had it up the entire time. It's really late now to, obviously I was going to speak very strongly in favor of childcare being in it. I do not understand why people are opposed to being an issue. It's a critical issue, as Sue Braun said. It's obviously too late now. People voted it down, but maybe if I had an opportunity to talk, they wouldn't have. I don't understand why this league cannot have 2 or even 3 issues that we support. The one we're supporting is one that obviously is important, but there are many others that are critical and incredibly important to support, such as childcare. and even immigration. So, and as I say, I don't know, I had my hand up, I thought all the time, and I hadn't been called on, so. I also think it might have been wise, since many of us perhaps did not look at all the bylaws, to run through them really quickly, but you chose not to. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. I'm sorry that you didn't get heard when you wanted to be.
Yep.
This item is resolutions and directives. So if anyone would like to submit a resolution, it does need to be typed in. So you can either do that through the Q&A or by emailing our secretary. Donna, have you received any such emails at this point?
No, I have not.
Okay. Resolutions of a courtesy nature can be introduced and voted on. They express the will of the convention and should be within league program and deal with topical current issues. They involve short-term action, be pertinent to San Diego, have minimum budget impact, and not circumvent the program planning process. Okay, let me get back to the screen. All right, next slide, please. I would like to thank Lori Thiel, Donna Bartlett-May, Jill Elsner, Dana Freehoff, Jean Widener, and Sheila Toll. Jean actually didn't make it here in time to do the nominating committee report, but she was the nominating committee chair and she worked really hard this year, so I wanted to thank her. I want to let you know that we are hosting meet and greet socials in person on Saturday, July 27 in Serra Mesa and Sunday, August 18 in Ocean Beach. And we have our election volunteer meeting in person on August 26th. See our website, lwvsandiego.org, for details. With no further business, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Good night.